Hello and welcome back to the Meraklis Being series. I'm your host and self awareness coach Shweta Shivraman, and this is a show where we discover, learn, and implement lessons from others' life journeys. Others who I believe epitomize miraculous in its true spirit. Individuals who live life to the fullest, who worked hard on themselves to reach where they are, and are passionate in what they do. Today's speaker is Prasad Rangnekar, a yoga educator based in Bombay who's been teaching yoga over the last 26 years as a science of mind, body, and life transformation. His journey with yoga began at the age of 9. He's had the blessing of studying under many accomplished yogic masters, but those who have left a deep impact on his life are Tatambari Avadut, Baba Bholanath, Narinath, and his Sadguru, Sri Swami Samartha Maharaj. He takes 4 months off every year for Mauna Sadhana to go deeper into his silence, meditation, and study. Prasad's holistic approach to yoga has helped thousands across the world in over 15 countries, and he has personally mentored over 200 yoga teachers till date. Let's go dive in and listen to Prasad's journey of transformation. Hi, Prasad. Thank you so much for being on the show. I feel like a little fangirl here having this conversation with you in person.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, before we dive in, I think it'll be great for the audience to hear your journey. Maybe we can start there and then delve deeper.
Sure. This question has many parts because we don't have a single journey. We all have multiple journeys. All have multiple stories at multiple dimensions of our personality. Physically, we are something. Mentally, we are something. Professionally, we are something. Socially, we are something.
Yeah.
But in context of your core theme of transformation, I would say I was a very anxious, sickly child, constantly in and out of hospitals, surgeries, very weak immune system, very frail, thin little boy. My mother used to tease me, mother used to say that whenever she used to take me out, people would ask her, don't you feed him? Don't you feed him enough? I was very, very strong. Very restless. Basically, completely dominated by fight and flight. To where I am now, and this is no way blowing my own trumpet, but just an honest recognition of me being peaceful and content with where my life is now. Allowing my faith to ride over my fear. That is my formula for everybody, and I'm sharing it with your audience too. Allowing my faith to win over my fear. I think I'm in a better place. It has taken me over 40 years of conscious living and maybe over 35 years of consciously working on myself, but I think I'm in a better place now. I have done this lifetime, a good out of this lifetime, I would say. And I'm saying this in all humility, out of recognition, again, not out of some kind of holier than thou attitude. That's it, really. I mean, my journey would fill your entire podcast. So I would just like to say only this much, that I was introduced to yoga. Yoga is all I know. I have no other skills. Yoga is all I know. And I am a yoga student practitioner. I am a yoga seeker, sadhak. So my mother introduced yoga to my sister and I when we were 9 years old. Summer vacations, highly energetic kids. Parents don't know how to engage them. So she just literally deposited in a 1 month long course of yoga. I don't know what she was thinking, my dear mother, but because all were adults in that course, and we were the only children. So It was great for us because they were all grandpas and grandmas, retirees. So we got all the attention, but we also got a higher perspective because our teacher used to speak at their level because they were the main audience.
Mhm.
So that is when I actually started noticing my body, my breath. For a 9-year-old boy, that is very intriguing. And it was always there with me. Yoga was always there at the back of my mind, the ideas, the spiritual, because at the end of every lecture, every class, the teacher would give us a little tidbits about, try this or some reflection and some quote from Bhagavad Gita. So all that was there, but then, life catches up, studies and career and blah, blah. And I used to practice my asanas and all that. But at the age of 16, 17, I deeply got into philosophy for some reason. I started reading the Yoga Sutra when I was 17. And since then, life has been different. Of course, all other things went happening. And it has been an organic journey. So I cannot, it's nothing melodramatic that something happened in my life and life went all upside down, and not like that. It has been a very gradual, slow, organic flowering of my inner self, I would say. That's it, really.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think what stood out to me was when you said allowing faith to take over the fear, right? And a lot of emphasis you gave on the word allowing. A lot of times our controlling logical minds can't really step back and say allow for things to unfold or to flower.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How did you make that transition?
How did I make that transition? It gradually happened. Shraddha, I like the word Shraddha more than faith. You can call it trust. Trust takes time to build. Shraddha grows. And it has to grow. Shraddha cannot be instant. In the sense you see somebody in saintly clothes doing a trick, suddenly you have Shraddha in that person. That's not really Shraddha. That would ideally be called blind faith. And blind faith is not Shraddha. Shraddha grows. Faith is tested over time. And we see that in our Puranas, Itihasa. This is a very important lesson, that faith will be tested. If you think you have faith, there comes a googly from life. Okay, let me test you. Okay, successful. Next level test. Next level test. Till a time comes where Shraddha becomes surrender. Shraddha becomes samarpan. So, in my life, there are only two journeys. My journey of silence and my journey of Shraddha. My journey of silence and my journey of surrender. These are my only two margas or path, you could say, or modalities that I practice my yoga on. So again, nothing, not really like one incident that happened, but I think when one is aware, when one lives with awareness, or what they call nowadays mindfully, you are always responsive to life. Means, sorry to go about a roundabout answer, but it is important point that we are too much focused on our life, my life. We are too much focused on the me component. While I see life or my life as a partnership between me and life. So it's like a fish, when you see a video or when you see a fish swimming, it's not only the fish that's swimming. It is fish in a certain water body that is swimming, and the currents of water are helping the fish to swim. So even though our attention is on the fish moving, we are oblivious to the fact that it's the entire ecosystem that is supporting the movement of that fish. When I recognize that it's not just my life, but it's me plus life creating my life, there was a tremendous sense of lightness. There was a tremendous sense of empowerment. There's not just me, the entire life is there to aid me. Yes, it's my life, but life process itself is helping. That time, my life became very, very light and effortless, because I did not take the whole burden of existence only on my shoulder. I shared it with my life. I shared it with my day-to-day existence. Sorry, I mean, perhaps I'm becoming very poetic, but that's how it's coming out, you know. But the essence of what I want to say is, Shraddha is trusting. Shraddha. Shraddha, trusting life, trusting God, whatever you want to co-create your life with. It's not just you. And as the saying goes, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Without Shraddha, or only the one Shraddhavan, the one who has Shraddha, labate jnanam, realizes the knowledge. Knowledge of which, what knowledge? Not who is the newest billionaire on Forbes list. Not that knowledge, not objective knowledge, but Atma Vidya, knowledge of the self. Atma Jnana. So if you want to make life your partner, God your partner, like the Bhaktas will say, we are playing the Leela of Krishna. So they feel that Krishna and they are part of their existence. It's not just you. And the major factor in people's heaviness, psychological effort, weighing down, tiredness, exhaustion, is this, that they feel that I have to battle everything in life. No.
Yeah. So beautiful. I like that equation. Me plus life is equal to my life. And I think you simply touched upon the nerve, right? In terms of a lot of us feeling that sense of isolation, that, everything is on us to do. And in a world where all variables are out of our control beyond a very minuscule, just a minuscule part of it is within our control. So no wonder we continuously feel overburdened. And just couple of days ago, I was having this conversation with a client where she was like, you know what, I'm tired of trying so hard. And, it came from the depths of her being, where she felt that exhaustion of just, winning a battle, losing a battle over and over again. And, I think this just puts that shares that load, like you said, wherein there is a partnership, and that isolation is not as much. And I'm curious, when we come to that, right, that we were just talking before the recording, that a lot of us are, we live in our minds, and we kind of keep suffering our minds over and over again. And I'd love to hear your take on that.
First, I want to touch upon what you said about exhaustion. It's not just an isolated incident. It is a proven study. In fact, in the Guardian magazine, the month of May, I had also posted about this on Instagram. There was a survey from UK which stated something that really broke my heart. The survey says people are too exhausted. This is the conclusion of that research. People are too exhausted to make positive lifestyle changes. This really broke my heart. And then I set off on a Europe trip. I was on traveling across Europe for the last 1 month teaching. And I actually experienced this with the people who came for my workshops and retreats. Tremendous exhaustion, tremendous. So what you shared is absolutely right. Absolutely right. We are just masters of distraction. We have become masters of distraction. So we don't really, again, using the word allow ourselves to sit and recognize that, oh, I'm exhausted. No, we just do because our ego doesn't like it. Our ego doesn't like that, I'm a strong person. How can I be exhausted? No. So then we just do something else. We distract. Oh, I'm so exhausted. I'm going to have a cup of coffee, strong coffee, double espresso. Or I'm going to watch
all problems.
an action movie. Yeah, absolutely. Now, coming back to your question is, why are we exhausted? Because we have become too mind-centric and not heart-centric. Yeah, there are two forces, thinking and feeling. We've become very thinking-oriented. Buddhi and bhava. Where is the bhava nowadays? Right? We are too busy analyzing things. We are too busy not just thinking, overthinking. Divine gave us the ability to think and we started overthinking, It's like that. God gives us one thing and we overdo it. So there are many reasons for this. Many reasons. Personal, social conditioning, family conditioning, generational conditioning. In a sense, what I want to say is, life is all about harmonizing your thinking and feeling variables, or the dimensions of thinking and feeling. But the kind of life we live makes it imperative that we stay in the thinking mode, because our life is full of choice, our challenges, decision making. We have to stay on alert. We have deadlines. We have projects. Company's name is at stake. Our job is at stake. So you see, the time your alarm goes, your fight and flight mechanism is switched on. The alarm also is such a horrible tone that nobody will wake up peacefully. You wake up with an overwhelm, right? And that alarm tips your nervous system into fight and flight. And then it doesn't come down, because you rush out of bed, you rush into shower, breakfast on the run to catch a train, juggle works and projects at office, jostle around with your colleagues, fight for the next presentation, push somebody for getting up the ladder in the corporate ladder, then rush or fight time to leave office early, dodge calls that you don't want to take. Imagine, we have to be in the thinking mode to stay sane. In the neurobiological terms, we have to be in the sympathetic nervous system response to survive. And once the habit pattern is developed, or in the brain, the wiring is developed, it's not easy to come out of it. Then what will happen? Imagine if you're firing your fight and flight since 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Your brain is not going to, oh, now he's come home. Now let me just wind down. No. Why? Why should it? If you've told your brain for 12 hours a day that you are under threat, run. Your brain will say, oh, I have to run at home also. This is the issue. So, I have personally started telling everybody and teaching that it is time for conscious rest. We need to give rest a priority. That is also a struggle.
So powerful. I think I was just reading somewhere that all that we do in our day-to-day life is this restless activity, right? And there is no action. So that means when you really pause also, even if you were to rest, the mind is still continuously, running that same race it was running those 12 hours. It's not going to suddenly come to a stop. So whether you're at work or not, you're thinking about work or you're doing something else in your head. And there is no rest that we give in. So there's no turning off of that flight and fight mode. It's always on, and then no wonder the exhaustion happens because the body can't run on adrenaline
Absolutely.
for that long.
Yeah. And people's ideas of rest have also become neurologically stimulating. Like, let's have a movie marathon. That's not rest. That's recreation. You see? Oh, I come back from office, 12 hours of work, and then just for rest, I go for a 7K run. It's not rest. Yeah, run is good for you. It has its own benefits. But your nervous system, if we look at nervous system as the fundamental ground to analyze everything on, your nervous system is not rested when you're running 7K, especially if you have a time. I want to run 7K within half an hour or whatever, something like that. Your brain is pushing through the time barrier. Your legs are pushing through the lazy barrier, or fatigue barrier. We need to learn how to consciously rest.
And I think in today's age, even hobbies have to become side hustles, right? So there is no recreation. That also has to be productive. Are you reading 52 books in a year or?
This what you just mentioned, that word, in every lecture and workshop of mine and the retreat of mine in Europe right now, I was talking about something that I call as productivity conditioning. So we have to be productive. Our mind is wired to such an idea that every moment we have to be productive. How will the mind rest? These are very post-World War ideas that were fair at that time. Our grandparents' generation, our great-grandparents' generation, who had to hustle to even survive. But now, at least at the socioeconomic class that we live in, you and I live in, there's no need to hustle. At least for the basic necessities of it. And we need to remember that. Two people of urban India recording a podcast is privilege. Yeah, we have to. I'm sorry if this is the news, but yeah, and that too, 10:30 on a Monday morning, privilege.
Even more.
Yeah, even more privilege. So we don't need to. objects in life, as they call in Sanskrit, Vishaya. Vishaya means there'll be never be enough money. You'll never ever be on top position. There's no best as such. If you look at external things to give you peace and comfort, not comfort, maybe peace or happiness, it is always fleeting. Mind will never be calm if you depend on fleeting objects for a source of love, happiness, peace. So somewhere we need to sit quiet, and that itself is a challenge. Forget meditation. That's why what we humans have done now, even our meditation has become active meditation. People do dance meditation. You see, because sitting still has become such a challenge that we have to rework the definition of sitting still to activity.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is life. It is a life. Everybody is in their process. So there's nothing existentially wrong in it or bad in it. It's just how it is. But we need to recognize. Just like when you are in a fight and flight response, you don't stop. If the tiger is running behind you to pounce on you, you just run. You don't stop and say, oh, wow, nice tiger. Or, oh, I love your stripes. Not like that, because when you are on fight and flight, you don't have the privilege to stop, examine, introspect. No, you're just on a run. That's why, we really need to make conscious effort to rest.
Right. So for those probably tuning in and haven't really rested consciously, where would you recommend they start?
Taking time out every day, consciously, to do something that, now I have to be very specific, because if I say to do something relaxing, then they will start running. Not like that. That's why I'm trying to formulate a proper sentence. Every day, take time to do something that relaxes your mind, relaxes your breath, makes you psychologically relax, become effortless, become calm. Those kind of variables you need to work.
Right.
Because people are smart, they just find a loophole and
absolutely. And the
because
mind,
if I say
is
take time out for rest, they say, oh, but I get a lot of rest if I buy something online. No. Oh, I rest very well after I eat 1 kilo of Kaju Katli. No, people always find their bit, so. But yes, taking consciously, like we take time for brushing teeth, having a shower, let it become a part of your routine. Rest should become a sadhana.
Yeah.
And then we will notice how tightly we are bound by this productivity. What will happen? You're sitting, like let's say, now 11 to 11:15. I'm just gonna sit on my chair and stare out of the window. Chalo, let's do this. You sit down, you stare out of the window, and I guarantee after 1 minute you'll be like, oh, my window has a lot of dust. Let me clean this. And then you go in and take a mop and start cleaning the window. This is what I'm saying, productivity. You can't just say, my window is dirty. After 15 minutes, I will clean. No. Like, oh, window. Oh, I forgot. Last weekend I should have, cleaned the window. Oh, no. You see, this is what I call productivity condition. Will not let you rest.
So true, so true. I think it's sort of like seeped into your body in a way that you have to constantly engage in something. Otherwise, your hands itch, your mind is constantly itching, and there is no resting in that.
Absolutely. And this is a very new phenomena. This is a very post-industrial revolution phenomenon. 20, 30 years, maybe even now it's happening. But if you went to the villages, you would find people just sitting under a tree, just sitting, chatting, or some people just sitting, looking up at the sky. You don't see that in the cities.
The concept only is foreign.
Yes.
Very idyllic.
Yeah, if you sit on a roadside and look up at the sky, people will think you are a crazy person.
Yeah.
And if you are, Arey, kya hua? No, I'm just looking up at the sky, admiring the blue sky. I say, kuch hai isme, something is wrong with this person, right? I mean, like I tell some people, like maybe not in India or wherever, but in the foreign countries, if you want to sit in a metro or wherever next to a person who is reading something or listening to something, so that person is engaged, so I'm safe next to that person. If you just find a person on a seat, staring into nowhere, you will not sit next to that person because you're like, what happened? Oh, this person is doing nothing.
Yeah, if nothing, at least look at your phone, right?
Yeah.
If you're not even keeping your phone, then what are you doing?
Yes, it's a very good place to hide. Look down. You don't have to look at anyone else. Don't have to socialize.
True. And interestingly, I think one of the things that you said, right, about finding contentment, and as long as we are looking at external things to find that contentment, it's always going to be fleeting. And, I'm just curious, in today's race for more, right, if I can put it that way, we are always craving for something more, whether it's status, wealth, designations, whatever it is, right? How can we really balance that ambition while being content?
There are 2-3 layers to it. In Sanskrit, it's called Vishayananda and Atmananda. Vishayananda means the happiness that the objects bring to you. Nothing wrong in it. Nothing wrong. Okay. Vishayananda would be ice cream. I eat ice cream, I feel happy, done, finish. But again, fleeting. It gives me sugar high, then my insulin spike happens, and then after 1 hour, I'm like, oh, I want one more ice cream, things like that. So the vicious cycle never ends. The second is Atmananda. The ananda, bliss or happiness that comes from within. We have gotten lost too much in the Vishayananda. Because nobody told us about Atmananda. Our education system, our social ecosystem has always been about Vishayananda. Even we ask our kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Doctor, engineer? Has anybody ever told you as a child, just be a good person? Just be happy when you grow up. Doesn't matter what you do in life, just be happy. Nobody told me that. So we've been taught that the only ananda, the only happiness that exists is Vishayananda. But our scriptures teach us very differently. Chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita says this. So there is a very big gap between what our scriptures say and what we are actually doing. So somewhere we have to go back to this realization by realizing that pursuing the objects, Vishaya, is its own thing. We need that. I'm not saying we should give up all desires and not like that. But not at the cost of the ananda that is there with it. In this sense, we all have to harmonize our external pursuits and internal pursuits. This is why I love the Purushartha model. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. 4 goals of life, you do this, and each ashrama is based on that. Right? Your brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram. Every goal of life gets its due. But modern person cannot imagine vanaprastha. You see, because we don't know when to disengage. In vanaprastha ashram, what happens? After 50, I'm going to disengage. Then my child's family comes in, I go out. We don't know when to disengage. You see, so what happens? First, I have to sort out my issues. Now I have to sort out my child's issues. Then I have a grandchild. Then I have to sort out my grandchild's issues. There's no disengagement. So somewhere we need to be re-educated about how to balance external pursuits and internal calm. Now the formula of Bhagavad Gita is get into external pursuits only to realize the inner calm. I'm saying it again. You engage in external pursuits only to realize your inner bliss. Yoginah karma kurvanti sangham tyaktva atma shuddhayet. Yoginah karma kurvanti. Yogis do their karmas. Why? Atma shuddhayet. For atma shuddhi. So your external pursuits are a way for you to realize the inner calm. So it is not two opposite trains moving away from each other. It is a circle. You become active in life pursuits only to realize yourself or to know more about yourself. So then what becomes important? Self-knowledge. And I'm not saying from a transcendental point of view, I'm Atma or something like that. No. Let's say you are, your organization tells you, Prasad, you have to go for this pitch, or this is a presentation, you have to do it. And you're like, oh my God, and then you work on it and you work on it, and the first pitch doesn't go so well. Now, usually, like we spoke about self-doubt and all that, usually you'll be like, my company trusted me, but I let them down. All this, the story will start in your head. Yeah. That time you should sit down and inspect. What can I do better? Yes, it was not as good as I could have done, but perhaps I did with what resources I had. But yes, I can do better. So I will become a slightly better version of what I was in my last presentation. This is the formula of yoga. Through your external work, you grow. This we forget. what happens is we get so focused on external work to create external transient things. That's why so many people die with bitterness in them. So many rich people die with bitterness. They have millions of dollars of worth property, but they don't die a peaceful death. So the formula is a very simple statement. Look at your work as worship. Work is worship. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is focused on that. Like Krishna says, no, think of me and fight. Mam anusmara yuddhacha. So engage in everyday activity, whatever it is, only to make yourself better. That is the formula. If you don't do this, what will happen is you will create a lot of wealth around you, but you will not contribute to inner prosperity. And this balance needs to be learned. Our Shastras teach this. That's why you have Parabrahma Swarup Krishna sitting as a charioteer. You know, Krishna would have said, sorry, it's none of my business. You
Not
guys, you ignorant people, you people in avidya, do whatever you want. No, he doesn't say that. He is also engaging. He says in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, I have nothing to do with all this. I am not getting anything from all this. Yet I am participating. He gives examples of Janaka and all. You know, despite being Jivan Mukta, they participate in day-to-day life. Like that we have to. So we have to realize, again, coming back to what I started with, it's not just me and my life are not separate. I'm living my life, learning from my life and becoming a better me. This is real Indian spirituality. Adhyatma. Adhyatma, the term Adhyatma means living in context of the self. Adhyatma. Atma. Atma here doesn't mean that transcendental Atma. Atma means self. Whichever self you bring to the table. Today I bring a self in avidya, live pertaining to that self. I become Jivan Mukta, live pertaining to that self. Live in context of the self. When this locus is lost, you live in context of money, you live in context of career, you live in context of popularity. Then the Atma is taken off the context of life. Then we are pushed and pulled from every corner. Money is important, but what about my family? Family is important, but what about my career? Career is important, but what about my health? That push and pull is what is exhausting, not day-to-day living.
Beautifully put, right? I keep repeating in my podcast as well that, self-discovery doesn't happen in the Himalayas. You don't have to give up all your material pursuits or your life to go discover yourself. And how beautifully you put it, that you use your own external pursuits as a way to learn better and become better.
Absolutely. And I have given Shastra Pramana, it's not, these are not my ideas of, these are all ideas from our Shastras. That's why I say, for my definition of yoga is a life skill. Just like swimming, just like driving. We have to learn yoga, we have to educate ourselves about yoga to navigate life more skillfully, to handle life challenges more skillfully.
Absolutely, yes. And curiously, you touched upon that. The fact that we have so many of these identities in terms of who we are at work, who we are at, in our personal life, in our relationships, in society. And I heard you mentioning in one of the podcasts that how anxieties come from our identities, right? That all of these identities that we assume we are and totally attach ourselves with, all of that start to cause us anxiety. And in a way, it is this constant anxiety that kind of stops us from actually being that resting or consciously take a rest or take it off, right? So I'm curious, how how do we manage these anxieties that seem never ending in our heads?
When you don't know who you are, you want to be many things. When you don't know what you want to eat in a restaurant, everything the waiter tells you sounds exciting. If you don't know where you want to go for vacation, every other offer sounds amazing. The point is, when you start living a mind of external awareness, you are spread thinly across a large surface area, and you lose yourself. And this is what happens. We play so many roles that we forget who is playing the role. There's a certain kind of dissonance that happens in our awareness. Who am I in all this? It happens a lot. I have seen happens a lot with women. Juggling career, motherhood, wife, daughter-in-law, and then wondering after a few years, who am I really? Because all roles are important. I am the center of it all. But then who am I? Like, do I even exist? Patanjali calls these asmitas. And every asmita has raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha means attraction and repulsion, the force of attraction and repulsion, or likes or dislikes. For example, you as a mother may not like something for your child, but you have to allow it because you're also a wife and your husband likes that for your child. But it doesn't sit well with you. But you say, okay, my husband likes that for my child, so it's no problem, But so the tension is between what you think is right for your child as a mother, but you have to also comply with what your husband wants to do for your child. You see, raga, dvesha, like, dislike. That's the fight. Like this, for each role we have a fight. And not just each role. Now this becomes even more complex. How many prasads are there in my head? Multiple. At every identity, I have a prasad. There's a prasad as a man. There's a prasad as an Indian citizen. There's a prasad as a yoga teacher. You see, and not just that, there are prasads across time. There is an infant prasad, teenage prasad, So imagine in our mind, there are multiple asmitas of self. And every asmita, every identity breeds like dislikes and creates a mental world for itself. This is how we are distributed across identity. This is the definition of avidya for Patanjali. Not knowing who the true self is, the true observer is. We get so caught up with our roles.
Yeah.
And with each role, we have this weight. Like I have not met even a single parent who says they have been a good parent. Right? So there's a guilt of parenthood. There's a burden of parenthood. So asmitas create a word around it. And we get carried away in that word. Like this, literally like the multiverse, Every asmita has its own word, and we are living together in this multiverse. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
And we want to give everything to every word, and we are exhausted. So the idea then again, to keep it extremely simple, is to consciously take time to step back. Every day, step back, step back, step back, step back. Vairagya is not taught. This is Vairagya. We are not taught Vairagya. We only know Abhyasa. Even we only are engaged in Abhyasa. We ignore Vairagya, when Vairagya is the most important part of yoga. So, and that's why we have this whole concept of doing your actions without desires, without the karma, without the intention to get back something. Like it is written in the Karma Yoga of Bhagavad. Do your actions without desires. Karma, phala. So, yeah, I feel education. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Perhaps I'm going all over the place, but there's so much to say on this topic. And that's why I feel spiritual education is extremely important. But then again, what happens is, in our country, spiritual education becomes religious education, because, religion and spirituality are so tightly bound, at least in India. You will find very, very few people in India who call themselves spiritual but not religious, like in the West.
Yeah.
So we have to really, really educate people. That's why I really admire you and want to really cheer you for your podcast, because somewhere your audience hears all this, gets motivated, and again tries to be a better version of themselves. That's all we can do.
Yeah. And curious, since you touched upon the whole topic of spirituality, right? I've received extremes about what spirituality is, right? Some of them either assume it to be esoteric and mystic and things that are dark and mysterious, and others kind of think of it like a hobby after retirement. So I often get, you're just 30, what are you doing reading all of this? Why bother, right, at this age and all of that? So I'm curious, right? What is your take on spirituality, and probably a tip on where people can start their journey?
For me, spirituality is okay, I will just say, for my definition of spirituality for myself is calm mind, simple life. This is the goal that I have given myself. Simplify your life, calm down your mind. My goal, personal goal for spirituality is only this much. And I'm okay with it. I'm not much into esoterics of it, though I don't rule out about that mysticism. But from the Shastric point of view, from the Indic spiritual point of view, it is all, the broad definition of spirituality is um, knowing yourself and helping others know themselves. In fact, the mission statement of Ramakrishna Mission, I feel, summarizes the worldview or the idea of yoga. Atmano mokshartham jagata hitaya cha. Moksha of the Atma and jagata hita, betterment of the world. So it is not an isolationistic, self-centered view. I grow, and when I grow, the whole world grows with me. This, I feel, should be spiritual motto of everything. And it has been the spiritual goal or motto of all our saints and mystics. Look at the Bhakti movement. You look at our Santa Parampara. They did not sit in a cave meditating and say, let the world go wherever it wants to go. No. They came on the streets, they sang, they spoke, they created small revolutions in their own ecosystems. And then they left. So, for me, spirituality is about understanding myself, and through that understanding, helping create a better world. Very, very simple definition of spirituality for me. And that is what I'm sharing. Because there are multiple definitions. You can say whatever you want. And perhaps it is valid too. But somewhere I feel it is time to simplify spirituality. Because there's so much out there. There's so much out there. So much. There's always a better guru. There's always a better scripture. There's always a higher mantra. There's always a holier place. There's always a powerful temple. It will always be there, but still, it's all outside. We have gone too fast. We've become too fascinated by the means. I remember a quote from Gorakhnath. He says, "Adasat Tirath Samandhi Samave." 68 pilgrim places of India are all within. Sit at the feet of your Guru, like this. So there will always be, like I said, there will always be, people also, because we live in such a socially connected world. Oh, have you done that pilgrimage? Oh, did you do upvas for this? Have you gone to that temple? Have you done this fasting? Do you know this mantra? I will send you the video of this guru. Have you read this scripture? I mean, these are all means. Have you done this pranayama? Have you tried this meditation? Because we are full of this. There's too much out there. And we just get engaged in the doing, ignoring the knowing. And yoga is all about the knowing. Doing is just a marga, it's just a way. If your doing does not contribute to your knowing, it is just taking you around in circles. So I have taken it upon myself as a project to simplify. I'm not saying demystify. I'm just saying simplify. As one saint from Maharashtra, he says, Kanda mula bhaji avgha vithai maji. Means kanda, onion, mula, radish, bhaji, vegetables. Avagha vithai. Vithai means Vithala, Vishnu. Avagha means only or totally. Maji, mine. So, my Vithala, my God, is in all these mundane things. Kanda, mula, bhaji. Nothing spectacular. But my divine is in the domestic mundane things. We say Lord Shiva is in Kailash, but do you mean he's not here around here as Parabrahma? Of course he's here. Do I have to go to Kailash? Will it help? Yes. But I can go to Kailash 10 times and have no faith in Lord Shiva too. That also can happen. Or I can just be here with closed eyes, completely in my humbleness and gratitude, and just feel one with Lord Shiva, sitting there in Kailash. So means are means, they have their importance, but means should not compromise the end.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So finding divinity in the mundane and everywhere you are.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what our Indic spirituality is all about. Look at the rishis and everybody. They had their own, we just read that in Upanishads, students went to the rishis. Yeah, but look at their back end. There was the rishi's wife who was managing the children. She had to, you see in the Puranas, Lord Krishna and his friend goes to chop wood in the forest. So there's a back end also. Right? All these avatars had their guru. They had to go through the schooling system, not because they did not know anything or they forgot once they became an avatar. No. To tell us that we have to go through the world. Artha is second, Rang, Kama. It's not Dharma and Moksha only. There's Artha and Kama too. We have to look at living from a complete holistic perspective.
Right. Amazing. Thank you. I think that was very beautiful. I know we stretched our time a little bit. Just curious, anything probably that you'd like to share with the audience that we've not probably touched upon? Any parting thoughts?
Maybe summary of all that you've spoken today. Number one, make conscious time for rest. Number two, don't get carried away by the means. Don't let information become knowledge. The real knowledge is self-understanding. So read 10 books, but absorb them also. Enjoy the mundane, simple life. Spirituality is there also. It's not just somewhere out there. This is not the view of Indian spirituality. For Indian spirituality is right here, right now. Wherever you are, there it is. So you go to villages. Yeah. We make deities out of a stone. Right? By projecting our bhava on that stone. That means what? Spirituality is everywhere. We have made goddesses out of rivers. We have made mother out of our planet. How can be spirituality separate to all that we live in? So don't think that spirituality is something out there that you have to go somewhere to feel spiritual. Live spiritual. It is a Jivana Vidya. Yoga is a Jivana Vidya. It is not exercise science. It is Jivana Vidya. Jivana Vidya, Atma Vidya. Only when one consciously walks on steps of simplifying life, our whole mind and nervous system will calm down. And this calm state of mind is the start of yoga.
Start.
If you read the Shastras, they will always say, when the one with calm mind is capable of yoga, is ready for yoga. I never used to understand this. You know, in earlier times when I used to read some scriptures, I would be like, that sounds fantastic to me. And now he's saying, oh, is capable of yoga. Then I understood after, my own experience is that, real understanding starts only when we are calm. Right? I can see you and project all that I think about you on you and see you only as what I want to see you as. But when I have no projections about you, prior ideas and notions about you, I just meet you for who you are. So rest, number one. Simplification, number two. Focus on calming down the mind, number three. And last but not the least, let your faith win over your fear. That's the summary. Sorry, can't help being a teacher. I have to summarize every lecture.
Appreciate the summary, and I'm sure the listeners would as well. Thank you so much, Prasad. I think that was just so insightful at so many levels. Really grateful for taking time out, that you could take time out to actually do this with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and all the best for bringing peace, love, and happiness in the hearts of people through your work and through your podcast. Thank you. Really appreciate it.